Hello, Rama Pupoda. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, wonderful, having a happy and peaceful life. Now let's continue with Paul Brunton. Paul Brunton came to the Maharishi in 1930. Being an intellectual and a journalist, he had prepared 32 pages of questions to put to Maharishi. These were well thought out questions because he had also studied mysticism thoroughly. But when he looked at the Maharishi and the Maharishi looked at him, he was drawn into a silence unfathomable to the mind. Not a word could surface either from his mouth or from his mind. He was filled with a silence and peace which he had never experienced before. He felt, there is something in this man which holds my attention as still feelings are beheld by a magnet. I could not turn away my gaze from him. Later, when writing about the great significance of this first encounter with the silent, pure presence of the Maharishi, Paul Brunton wrote, I became aware of a silent, resistless change taking place within my mind. One by one, the questions which I had prepared in the train with such meticulous accuracy dropped away. For it does not now seem to matter whether I solve the problems which have hitherto troubled me. I know only that a steady river of quietness seems to be flowing near me, that a great peace is penetrating the inner reaches of my being, and that my thought tortured brain is beginning to arrive at some rest. Soon he returned to the North India in his quest for spiritual masters. One of those he met was a traveling yogi called Chandi Das. The moment he saw Paul Brunton, he gave three predictions. All the three predictions came true. The third one was particularly significant. Chandi Das told him, you will return 2 more times to India and you will fulfill karmic ties with a sage who is waiting for you. This sage waiting for Paul Brunton was Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharishi. The strain of all his travels took a heavy toll on him. He fell ill and was terribly affected by that. His ill health troubled him so much that he wanted to go back immediately to England. Fortunately, there was a tug of war within his mind. Even during that illness, the image of all the sages, saints, and mystics he had met kept flashing inside him like a slideshow. One evaluating all of them, it was Ramana Maharishi's image that shone through. Now, look at this strange phenomenon. Here is a person who is determined to go back to England. By some freak chance, this slideshow takes place within his heart and he decides to go back to the Maharishi. Immediately after, a letter arrives from B.V. Narasimha Swami, a biographer of Ramana Maharishi, asked him to return to Arunachala and the master. Then, when he arrives in Chennai from Mumbai on his way to Bhagavan, the author Venkataramani meets him and tells him about what the Sankaracharya had told him. Your friend will travel all over India. He will visit many yogis and listen to many masters. At the end, he will have to return to the Maharishi only. How prophetic this was! Because of this, after Ramana Maharishi dropped his body, Brunton would send his friends to India, telling them, go and see reality living in human form. Go and see the Sankaracharya of Kamakoti Mutt. But most importantly, go to Tiruvannamalai and experience the unseeable force of the great sage Ramana Maharishi, though he is not physically available. For the second time, Paul Brunton came to the Maharishi, which is to our benefit. Otherwise, the look of grace that Paul Brunton would have submerged with him, but the whole world had to know about the Maharishi. The whole world had to receive the message of I am. So the higher power guided him back to the Maharishi. He came back determined to experience the truth. He had interviewed many sages and saints, all of whom were talking about the truth. Now he wanted to experience it. A determined Paul Brunton arrived in Arunachala in 1931. Seeing his determination, B.V. Narasimha Swami and the other devotees helped him to build a hut in Palakuttu, a compound next to Ramana Ashramam. He decided to give his all to experience the truth at the holy feet of Ramana Maharishi. Paul Brunton's perseverance, his determination, and his total faith are qualities which we all have to imbibe. He had many interviews with Ramana Maharishi, short and long. He was always seen following the Maharishi with a notebook and a pencil. He put searching questions to the Maharishi until he understood the direct teachings of self-enquiry thoroughly. He did not leave the Maharishi. The Maharishi was also determined to give his everything to Paul Brunton because his teaching had to spread all over the world. After understanding it in depth, he included it in his book, A Search in Secret India. It was the first time in the world that the guidance to turn one's attention to the inner light, the truth that I am is God, flowed from a Western pen, the same truth that the Bible expresses, I am that I am, and the kingdom of God is within you. Through his powerful words, he was able to communicate that when each one of us turns within, the inner light is available to us, not in the future but right now. His lucid words brought not only many Westerners but also a host of Indian scholars to the Maharishi. Major Chadwick, S.S. Cohen, Maurice Friedman, Dr. Hafiz Syed, Dilip Kumar Roy, and many others came to Ramana Maharishi only after reading Paul Brunton's book. Even the heads of many Indian religious institutions came to know about the Maharishi only after reading A Search in Secret India. In the Maharishi's poem, Navamani Malai, Necklace of Nine Gems, he reveals that Arunachala gave him the task of spreading the truth of I am all over the world. How could this happen when he himself would not even move an inch from Arunachala? So, a Paul Brunton had to come to make it known all over the world. Brunton became instantaneously popular. Truth seekers who were suffering in many parts of the world saw the glimmer of light through this book. The emphasis on individually turning one's attention within to experience the truth. That is the secret which influenced both scholars and laymen. To quote Brunton, the words of this sage of Arunachala still flame out from my memory like a beacon lights. Roy Emerson wrote, I pluck golden fruits from rare meetings with men. It is certain that I plucked whole baskets full with my talks with the Maharishi. Our best philosophers in Europe could not hold a candle to him. One cannot forget that wonderful, pregnant smile of his with his hint of wisdom and peace. He was the most understanding man I have ever known. You could be sure that some words from him would always smooth your way a little, and that word always verified what your deepest feeling already told you. In memory of Paul Brunton, I would like to quote more from his book. Brunton, what exactly is this self of which you speak? If what you say is true, there must be another self in man. Bhagavan, can a man be possessed of two identities? two selves? To understand this matter, it is first necessary for a man to analyze himself, because it has long been his habit to think what others think. He has never faced his I, himself. He has for too long identified with the body and the brain. Therefore, I tell you to pursue the inquiry. Who am I? You ask me to describe the true self to you. What can be said? It is that out of which the sense of the personal I arises and into which it will have to disappear. Brinton. Disappear? How can one lose the feeling of one's personality? Bhagavan. The first and foremost of all thoughts, the primeval thought of every man is the thought I. It is only after the birth of this thought that any other thoughts can arise at all. It is only after the first personal pronoun has arisen in the mind that the second personal pronoun you can make its appearance. If you can mentally follow the I thread until it leads you back to its source, you will discover that just as it is the first thought to appear, so it is the last to disappear. This is a matter which can be experienced. Brunton. You mean that it is possible to conduct such a mental investigation into oneself? Bhagavan. Certainly, it is possible to go inwards until the last thought, I, gradually vanishes. Another time, Brunton asks, what path do you advise? We need your grace. Bhagavan. Be still, do not think, and know that I am. Brunton. Should I meditate with eyes open or closed? Bhagavan. You can meditate with eyes open or shut, whichever suits you best. It differs with different people. Seeing is when the mind looks through the eyes, but if it is not looking because it is focused within, it does not see even if the eyes are open. It is the same with sounds. If you pay attention to them, you will hear them. But if you persistently focus only on the self within, you will not hear them. So too with the postures. Postures are immaterial for this path of wisdom. Posture really means steadfast location in the self. It is internal. The best posture is to be in the self. Brunton. Should we make effort? Bhagavan. No one succeeds without effort. Mind control is not one's birthright. The successful few owe their success to perseverance. When attention is directed towards objects and intellect, the mind is aware only of these things. That is our present state of suffering. But when we attend to the self within, we become conscious of it alone. It is therefore all a matter of attention. Brunton. How should we meditate? Bhagavan. All you need to learn is to close your eyes and turn inwards. That which you seek is inside yourself. Brunton. Is the thought, I am God, helpful? Bhagavan. I am is God and not thinking. Realize I am and do not think. I am. Know it and do not think it. I am that I am means the one must abide as I. One is always the I alone and nothing else. At that time, a pet squirrel was awaiting an opportunity to run out from Bhagavan's sofa. Bhagavan caught it and said, all wish to run out and rush out. There is no limit to going out. Happiness lies within and not without. When Brunton was in a quiet village near London, Bhagavan appeared to him in a vision and asked him to write his second book, The Secret Path. Then, by the grace of Bhagavan, a cascade of writing followed, resulting in 9 books. Of these, the quest for the overself is of paramount interest because he has shared all that he experienced in the presence of Bhagavan as guidance to seekers and how it can be put into practice. In the year 1938 or 1939, there was some misunderstanding between Paul Brunton and the Ramana Ashramam management, because of which he couldn't take down notes in Bhagavan's hall. He was so angered by this that he could not even live anywhere near the ashram. He left, supported by the king of Mysore. He stayed up to 1947 in India, but he never stopped being in contact with Bhagavan. His devotion and surrender to Bhagavan was complete, and he was in constant connection with Bhagavan through ecstatic letters. In one of his letters, he wrote, Bhagavan is I am, all the time meeting in the inner space of my heart, where Ramana Maharishi always resides. Bhagavan was also very affectionate towards Paul Brunton. So, folks, let's continue the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Pupoda.